All right, guys, so this is going to be a weekly market prep video for SPY and ES, kind of what you can expect for the week going into, I guess, first week of August, really. We're going to basically break down exactly what we believe is going to happen on SPY, on ES as well. We use ES as an indicator for SPY. And then Harrison, he's a very experienced trader as well. He's more familiar with the crypto market. I'm much more familiar with the stock market, but together we make a great team and we trade together almost every day. So I would like for Harrison to give his input, and that's what he's going to do today. We're going to talk a little bit about macroeconomic factors going into the week. We're also going to talk about the FOMC press conference that's happening on Wednesday, which is going to be a very big event going into next week. And then we're going to talk a little bit about potential setups that you can look out for and expect going into next week and kind of plan for that. So yeah, starting off with ES, I'm going to just quickly open up my screen here for ES. So ES finished off the day on Friday with a lot of buying pressure. So on the 6-hour time frame, which is what you're looking at right now, we had a very nice sell-off that basically concluded the trading day on Thursday. And then instead what happened on the following day is instead of having follow through, which, Harrison and I were very much expecting to see, we actually had a buyback. And what I believe this was just people taking profit from this enormous sell-off that we had that started on Tuesday, July 23rd. So as of right now, looking at the 6-hour time frame, it does look very bullish because what we have here is on Friday, we basically received a higher high, which broke the structure that we could basically formed on the previous day. And then we concluded that day with a red candle, which was good to see. But unfortunately, this had already broken above its previous higher low, creating a higher high. And then today, Sunday, this candle has now officially closed at 9 p.m. PST. And it has given us a lower high with a higher high and a bullish engulfing, which is a very bullish setup. But again, we're looking at the 6-hour time frame. And if you go over to the daily time frame on ES, you're going to notice that it actually is in a downtrend right now. So if you're looking at taking shorts, or if you're looking at taking puts, or if you are in puts, it's not something that you should be concerned with. I would still personally be looking at getting into puts with what I'm seeing here on the daily time frame. So just to clarify what I'm seeing here, on Tuesday, July 23rd, we had our first higher low. So we sold off very aggressively starting July 17th. We had 3 days in a row of constant selling pressure. We had a buyback on July 22nd, and then on July 23rd, we had our first higher low. This basically followed with an enormous sell-off, which provided us with a gap down, which you don't rarely see on ES. And it kept selling off all the way into Thursday, July 25th. Now, our previous lower low is right around 55.50. And if you look at the price action on the daily time frame, we had a bullish engulfing on Friday, and right now we're having some follow through for this candle currently. So realistically, the perfect spot for us to go for a higher low on the daily would be 55.50. If we go to 55.50, 55.50 is going to be a very strong level of resistance on the daily time frame. And we could very easily go all the way up to 55.50. And what we could see here is a lot of resistance, okay? And then from there, what we could see is a huge sell-off, which could give us a lower low. And that would obviously be past our current lower low. So the current lower low is 54.44. So if we do in fact get a lower low, it would have to be way past this. And I'm thinking probably 5,400, maybe even lower. Okay, so with that being said, if you are in puts right now, if you're looking at getting into puts, I would wait until we reach 55.50, see how price reacts at 55.50. If we see a lot of selling pressure or we see a break of trend structure on the daily, sorry, not the daily, but the 6-hour, then I would highly consider getting into puts. And I would ride that to at least 54.45 and then potentially lower as well for the lower low that we're expecting. So that's kind of my thesis. That's what I'm expecting here. On the weekly time frame as well, I just want to add that we did in fact give a lower low on the weekly. So the weekly has been in an uptrend for quite some time, starting in April 22nd. We started buying up, and we got a higher high and a lower high here, and then we got another one here and another one right there, and then we had a higher high that basically peaked on July 15th, or the week of July 15th. And unfortunately, we actually broke past our lower high, which created a lower low. This is a break of trend structure on the weekly, very clearly. So the weekly is in a downtrend, the daily is in a downtrend, but the 6 hour is in an uptrend. So what this means is, for the short term, we're bullish, but for the long term, we're bearish. So what we have to see, obviously, before any of you get into puts, what I'd recommend is I would wait to see a break of structure on the 6 hour. And a very likely spot where we could see this happen is around 55.50. So this is a very bullish setup for the 6 hour, and we most likely will pump going into tomorrow's market. But 55.50 will be a very key level to pay attention to, because if we do get any kind of resistance here, that would be a great spot for the 6 hour to break its structure, give us a potential lower low or a higher low, and then dump following after that all the way back down to 54.44 and potentially even 5400. So that's my input. That's what I believe to happen. That's what I'm expecting. Now, going into this week, Harrison is going to talk a little bit about some macroeconomic events that are going to be taking place, including the FOMC press conference, and how that could impact the market going into this week, as well as what's going on with the BTC and Ethereum market as well. So Harrison, I'll let you take over from here.
All right. So just to kind of continue touching on what Nick was saying here. So this is what I call the golden rope. And currently we have, as you can see, a lot of the times we're going to, in a macro trend, this is a weekly time frame, we're going to come near and touch this rope every time, right? So we've seen it. We've seen two major taps. We're looking for another. We can call this sort of a tap. I would not be surprised if we come a little closer considering these weekly closes. Yep. Would not be surprised. 5,400 seems like a very reasonable position to be looking for, to keep it conservative. This candle is brand new and fresh, so it could easily be turning red for all we know after that FOMC statement that is on Wednesday, I believe.
Yeah, it's on Wednesday.
Yep. Wednesday is indeed on Wednesday, yes.
And honestly, Harrison, with that being said, do you think that Jay Powell is going to reduce the interest rates, or do you think he's going to keep them the same?
Well, the market's not expecting a rate change till September, so it would be a shocker if he did. I'm not exactly sure how that could play out. I know that in terms of macro, when we see rate cuts, 9 out of the 10 times we've seen, up to a 20-30% drawdown onto the S&P 500. So, when rates get cut, it's technically a bearish time. So
right, and you were saying that, yeah.
And what I want to go down to the daily here. So you can see, look at this, right? So on the daily, it lines up perfect with what Nick was just saying. You come back up to 55.50, and that is basically a perfect tap on this golden. We could easily see a rejection there, come float down to, easily, honestly, 53.75. And that would be a picture perfect play just down to this weekly rope right here.
And I completely agree with that. So just for some of the viewers that might be watching this when the video gets released, I've never really expressed or explained how the super trend indicator works, because with my analysis, I don't really use that. I use an analysis called VVP, which is basically just volatility, volume, and price action. Not so much volatility. Mainly what I pay attention to is just price action. I have my levels on my screen, and then I also use volume to indicate how much buying or selling pressure is following through with that candle. So if you could just explain how the super trend indicator works and what it means, that'd be great.
Yeah, so basically you can think about it like a long-term. So this is the average. This is literally the market average. So if you're a dollar cost averager, you are going to be buying below this golden rope every single time. So I can take out my marker here. And we'd be buying here, we'd be buying here, we'd be buying here. You can buy a little along these. Here would be a great spot. Here. So these are all positions. Sorry, don't mind my mess of a chart. But yeah, so down here, these are all positions where you're going to be looking to add.
Yeah.
Any of these big whales, none of these guys are buying when the super trend is green. They're buying when it's red. They're buying below this rope. And sorry about that.
Totally fine. We all have messy charts.
Yeah, exactly. And this is basically all I'm really saying. So from a long-term dollar cost average perspective, I would not be surprised to see this come down a little bit, maybe even flip red for a few days, whatever. We could easily flip red till the election, so
Right.
this is something, at least on the daily, right? So you see the daily here, we have flipped red. We could easily flip, the election's not too far away, so about 3 months away, 3.5 months away.
Yeah, that's
obviously if Donald Trump gets elected, which leads me on to my next position where I want to kind of talk about what Donald Trump was saying about Bitcoin. This is the kind of a recap of his statements at the 2024 Bitcoin conference that just happened this weekend. So the main points that he was making to the crowd there, he says the US will be the crypto capital of the planet and the Bitcoin superpower of the world.
That's crazy.
Bitcoin stands for freedom, sovereignty, and independence from global coercion and control. On day one, I will fire Gary Gensler of the SEC and appoint a new SEC chairman. He says Bitcoin's going to the moon, never sell Bitcoin. Create a U.S. government strategic national Bitcoin stockpile, which is, of course, every Bitcoin maxi knows this is like the ultimate goal, right? So, I mean, this is bullish, but it's also bearish in a sense because this was the Bitcoin maxis. This is the ultimate goal, is to have governments buying their Bitcoin, right? So this is full on world adoption if this starts to happen. I mean, the USD leading that would just be huge. So they're saying that the US government will keep 100% of the Bitcoin that it owns. There will never be a CBDC while he is president. He pledged to the Bitcoin community that the day he takes office, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris's anti-crypto crusade will be over. And Bitcoin will surpass the gold market, which is currently $7 trillion, and Bitcoin alone is 1.3, I believe. Crypto will skyrocket like never before if he is elected a president. He will commute Ross Ulbricht's sentence. I'm not exactly sure what that is. We're probably not going to look into it. Bitcoin is not a threat to the dollar. The current administration is a threat to the dollar. So these are all of his statements that he made during the comment,
right,
or during the conference. Now I just want to run back to, here's my little crypto chart here. And right away, when you're looking at Bitcoin and Ethereum, you're going to see Bitcoin is just absolutely blowing the top off of Ethereum here. So Bitcoin bled less. So Bitcoin bled less and it grew much more. So went 330 and we're seeing Ethereum at 220%. That's shown perfectly in this chart right here. So this is the ETH Bitcoin here. So this is also the Bitcoin market dominance. You'll see this pretty much lines up perfectly with it. About a 44%. Bitcoin has beaten the market by 44% by the total crypto market. So this is excluding Solana, just so you know. Like Solana has obviously done quite well. You guys have all heard of Solana.
And sorry, pardon to interrupt you, Harrison, but I was just going to say, with all the news that Donald Trump has just released, what are the chances or what are the odds that you think he actually does in fact get elected?
Well, I mean, the answer to that's quite easy. If you just go to, for example, I think it's at Bet365, for example, we can see the polls. We can actually see the polls right now. So if we just go to Bet365.
Right. And the reason why I ask this question is because, if people are so certain that he will be elected, which it sounds like a lot of people are, what are the odds and what are the chances that his re-election has already priced into the charts?
Here we go. Oh, 100% it's been priced in. 100%.
That's what I'm saying, right? It could be a very underwhelming election for the stock market.
Well, yeah, it really depends. I mean, the way that I've kind of seeing this, so if you see, this is the Ethereum dominance, Ethereum over Bitcoin. And as you can see, these line up in the same time frame, right? So during the bottom, Ethereum has just been getting munched by Bitcoin by 40%. I mean, this is ruthless, to be honest with you.
Way strong.
Bitcoin's really just showing everyone that it's king. It's king and it's here to stay. And don't ever disrespect it because, he made you, basically. So Ethereum, it's going to have a tough time this cycle. And the way that Trump's talking about Bitcoin makes me, he's saying no CBDC. Anyone that really knows Ethereum knows that it is almost a CBDC. It's basically a CBDC. It's cell phone blockchain technology, and it's easily going to be the technology that a central currency or a digital currency would be using. That is Ethereum, right? So Bitcoin being a store of value, freedom movement, it makes a lot of sense, especially with Donald Trump getting elected. It would we would see, if Donald Trump gets elected, I would not be surprised to see $110,000 Bitcoin by the end of the year. And to be fair, like, think about it. All these guys that have slept on Bitcoin, you're going to get a 50% gain from today. It's like you're getting 50%, and you're taking risk where, we can easily come back and tap something like this, right? We can see a 40% retrace before you even know it. Sure. in these type of crypto assets. So
for sure. So
yeah, that's it. And I did want to say one more thing. This Bitcoin market dominance, this is a huge trend line from when Bitcoin was 100% of the share of crypto, and it's obviously gone down to as low as 40%, a little lower. But this is a huge trend line, and we basically, if Bitcoin is going to break above and hold this, I would not be surprised if we start to come up and test around this area of 65% of the market. Would it make a higher high? I don't know about that, but it would definitely come up and tap this for some love, considering this is also turned green, a little bit up, a little bit down, and it could carry up higher, but that just depends. That would also line up with just Bitcoin absolutely destroying Ethereum. That's basically what this means.
Which it has,
which would make sense when you hear Donald Trump's statement and he does get in office, right? And obviously, it's interesting because the way these macro events play out, a lot of the times, I'm a little more, what's the word? Theoretical, I guess you could say, for the lack of better terms. But we can easily just come up and chop sideways. Wednesday comes along, and Powell just dumps the market, and everyone just buys that dip.
Right, that's the thing. When he speaks, when he opens his mouth, things go crazy, right? So it's something that
you could literally something like this right here.
Right. And it's something, honestly, if you're a day trader and you aren't looking to take advantage of these moves, you have to be very skeptical of trading news, because you could be very certain on what is going to get released or what's going to be said, but you never know for sure. You never know
the reaction of that data. That's the reality. You can think it's bullish, and before you know it, the market's interpreting it. You get it interpreted bearishly, and you're going down instead of up. So Absolutely. Follow Nick's advice. Follow that trend. That's the way you make money trading options. That's for sure.
Definitely, I agree. Following the trend and staying with the trend is probably the most important thing you can do, in my opinion. Price action is king. Price action, technically speaking, is really the only leading indicator. Price action is telling you the live data. Price action is telling you what is happening live. It's telling you what's currently going on. And every other indicator is, to some extent, lagging. It uses historical data to give you the current information. So when you are trading moves like this, it's very important to pay attention to what's happening live. And I feel price action does the best job at that. So, which is why I'm such a big fan of it. So with that being said, is there anything you want to add to the potential setups on SPY going into this following week?
No, I think you covered it. I mean, you literally described what I'm looking at here, 55.50, there it is. And
yeah,
that's exactly what we need to see. We need to see what's going to happen at 55.50. Zoom in, you say?
Yeah, just a little bit. Yeah. There we go. Yeah, so 55.50 honestly is a great spot for us to go for a retest. It really is for the daily. But even if it goes up to the top of that previous red candle there, if you go up there a little bit higher, the previous red candle, yeah, right there. Even there, as long as we don't go above 56.08, we're still in a downtrend. Like, price could very well go up to 56.08, and it could crash very hard once it hits that.
You would need to see a nice rejection off that level. If you're going to be going short, by then you would need to see a nice rejection. That's what I would say.
Absolutely.
If you start to see it crush if you start to see it crush this, like, we're most likely going to go back to higher highs.
Most
It's
likely.
just the reality. But those people believing that we're going higher highs will get rinsed first, and then we'll go on for that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. So, first area to look for, basically, to recap everything, the first area to look for is going to be 550 or 5550 on ES. And you want to look for a reaction there. You want to look for a strong reaction there. But, there's a chance we don't even go there. But with how things are looking on the 6 hour time frame, it's very likely that we go to 5550. And it's very important that we analyze how it reacts at that area. And if it reacts very positively and we get a break of structure on the 6 hour, that's a clear indicator to me that we are in fact going to go for at the very minimum a same low, or even a lower low on the daily. So that is going to be something that you all should be paying attention for going into this next week. And the worst case scenario, we go all the way up to 5608. 5608 would be like the last place that we have to react if in fact we are going to dump and go for a lower low. 5608 would be an extremely important level to pay attention to, because if it doesn't hit that area and it just blows right through it, like Harrison was saying, then we're most likely going to go for a higher high, maybe even all-time highs again on ES. And obviously, you do not want to be in puts for something like that. So yeah, we're either going to go for a retest of a lower high, a retest of our higher low, or we're going to go for a higher high. So it's basically one of those three options. And the most
Yes, sir, and we're right in the middle.
And right now we're right in the middle. Yeah. So with that being said, I think that concludes the video. I do hope this helps out some of you fellow traders. And if you are trading SPY or ES going into this week, make sure you're very cautious going into the trading day on Wednesday. Personally, on Wednesdays when we have FOMC press conference, I don't like to be holding anything just because I do not want to be caught in an enormous amount of volatility without an edge. You know what I mean? So usually going into a press conference like that, I don't like to be holding any positions, and I don't advise you guys do either unless you have a setup that you're very confident in. So I guess with that being said, Harrison, that's about it for me. Anything you want to add?
My closing remarks, I just did some quick math here on the Donald Trump odds, and the markets have given him a 57% chance. So he is a 57% favorite.
Donald Trump has a 57% chance of winning.
Yes, sir.
Over Kamala Harrison?
Kamala Harris is much less.
What's her percentage? What are her odds? You know?
Let me tell you.
Yeah, just looking at this one more time, like 5550 is such a strong area of support and resistance for the daily. I would be very surprised if we hit that and we don't react. Wouldn't you agree?
Sorry, say that one more time.
Just looking at the daily one more time, like if we hit 5550 and we don't have some kind of reaction, I'd be very surprised.
Yeah, I agree.
You know what I mean? Ideally, what I'd want to see is some follow through up to 5550, and then once we get there, either like a bearish engulfing on the 6 hour, or at least like a higher low or something like a higher low or lower low that confirms that, okay, structure is broken, we're going to go for a lower low now. So that's ideally what I'd want to see. But like I said, looking at this again, our previous higher low on the daily was up here at 5608. 5608 would be like the last case scenario for a reaction if we want to go back down. And if we break above that, then it's definitely over. We're going to go for a higher high, potentially even all-time highs. So, yeah.
And if my math is not wrong, I think we're looking at about 14% chance for Kamala Harris.
Also very low. But she just got into this presidential race.
Yes, she did.
Yeah. Thank God Joe Biden stepped down. He was definitely not the right pick for the United States.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree.
Yeah, no, it was not good. It was not a good look. Trump was destroying him in almost every press conference that they had. It was pretty bad. That you could really see the age on Joe Biden. Like the age is definitely catching up to him for sure.
For sure. I
He
mean, yeah,
he needs to retire
he's
and go drink some beers and smoke some cigars and enjoy his grandkids. That's what he needs to do.
yeah, wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah, for sure. Well, anyways, guys, today is July 28th. It is 9:37 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. That is your weekly market prep going into this week for July 29th. I hope that helps you guys out and gives you some insight and preparation on what you should be looking for if you are going to be trading SPY going into this week. And that's about it for me. Anything you want to add, Harrison?
Peace.
All right, take care, guys.